Yo, 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 guys, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Warriors Invitational. It's your boy Gotham with my boy Chuck. Missing our boy Matt today. Matt, hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll hold down the fort for you. But Chuckster, welcome back, man. Season underway. How we feeling?
Ooh, hard not to be feeling good, 4-1 to start the year. Can't complain about that. I mean, sucks that we had the blow of Steph. It took 3 games for Steph to get hurt, but hey, weathered the storm so far, so can't complain about that. Yeah, like World Series over, it's time to just lock in on basketball, and I've just been an absolute gremlin on my laptop just watching games this last
The film,
week.
the film is filming right now for you, Chuckster.
Oh God, the film is I gotta do a quick Jesus, how many games am I up to this year? Like almost 60. So
Wow. That's guys, that's the definition of love of the game right there. So
yeah,
check out Chuckster's stuff coming out. It's
I'm in
good.
full freak mode. It's getting ridiculous.
Basketball season is back, and yeah, Warriors 4-1. Great start to the season. Chuck, you hit on it. Steph obviously going out in the third game there against the Clippers, and the only loss, but some very very positive signs so far from this Warriors team. Obviously last year they started, I think it was 6-2, 5-2, and we know how that went. So don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but. Just the vibe of this team, the way they're able to compete defensively, guys that are stepping up offensively, especially with some key guys out in Steph, Wiggins, Melton's missed some games. So the Warriors 4-1 started off with two blowouts against the Blazers and the Jazz. We kind of expected that, not necessarily as well as it looked maybe, but expected wins there. Blew the home opener against the Clippers. 20 plus turnovers. Just a reminder of which team we're supporting here with the Warriors turning the ball over. But a sweet bounce back, back-to-back wins against the Pelicans, coming back from 20 against in the first game, and then the second game. They kind of controlled for the most part the for full 48 minutes. So Chuck, man, talk to me. What have you seen through the first 5 games? Who are some of the guys that that have stuck out to you, and also what's the difference from this team maybe compared to the last couple? Because it just feels the product is more fun to watch right now, and we can't say the same for the last couple years.
Yeah, so it's gonna be different for people to adjust to this because a lot is different with this Warriors team now. Not only the personnel, but kind of the philosophy we're seeing is all over the place. But like compared to relative seasons, I don't mean all over the place in a bad way, but it's very different. And I think the main takeaway I have is you see like yes, it's really easy to go, okay, well, they beat the brakes off 2 bad teams, lost to a decent team, and then beat a really hobbled Pelicans team. I don't want to like completely discount how important it is to win that, but you could look at it and say, okay, they won the 4 games they were supposed to win, and then they lost the one game that was difficult in any way. But we saw this team the last 2 years. Like they were losing games they should have won all the time. So the main takeaway is, okay, you could make an argument that they could have won all 5 here and they won 4 of them. So I'll take that. That's pretty good. And the one loss is the night where you just kind of started throwing the ball away out of nowhere. And yeah,
Classic.
your star gets hurt. That throw. I mean, the game was not looking good even before that, but still. So that's the big takeaway there. I think on the like 30,000 foot level, looking at this team is, hey, they weathered the storm on some injuries, like Steph out, even with the Pelicans being hobbled, we were like, okay, well, this is rough. And they take both games on a back-to-back, really just showing off the depth of this team. I'm curious what you see too before we go more into like the nitty-gritty of what's going on here. Like what just stands out to you from just the overall feel of this team right now?
Yeah, for me, I'd say the biggest takeaway has been defensively. I think that. especially in the last couple of years, it felt like the Warriors just couldn't get a stop when they needed to. And, a lot of that comes down to personnel, guys that are there, injuries. But this summer, and a lot of credit to Mike Dunleavy for, even getting guys like Lindy Waters. You see guys like GP2 have stepped back up, and he looks more in that 2022 kind of role. And I think hiring a guy like Jerry Stackhouse, you're already hearing a lot of guys talk about the impact that Stackhouse has had on the defensive side of the ball, and you're seeing it. They're forcing turnovers, they're getting out in transition and running, and it's looking a lot more like Warriors basketball that we've seen in the past. And I think it starts on that end, and obviously they have a lot of good shooters, man. Like Buddy Hield has been, if you told us Buddy Hield was our leading scorer five games in. I don't know if we would have all predicted that, bought it, but just the way Buddy's been looking in the offense. He looks like he fits into the Steve Kerr system already. Great stuff from Draymond, just talking about playing with Buddy, his impact in the locker room outside. Guys like Kyle Anderson's look great. I know for the first Pelicans game, he didn't score or anything like that, but you kind of felt the impact. And the next game, I think he had 10, 5, and 5. And so you're just seeing just the depth of this team, like you said. And for even a guy like Lindy Waters who came in and hit a couple shots in that first game against the Pelicans and really got the comeback starting. So you're seeing the emphasis on defense. You're seeing this team is the identity is starting to form, I think, of we're gonna get guys, we're gonna try and force turnovers, but we're gonna force tough shots. We're gonna get out and run, and we're gonna beat the brakes off of you by shooting threes, and they've got guys that can do it. So it definitely feels like this is a replicable formula. And again, I think a lot of this is going to be put to the test as they start to play some of these better teams coming up here in the next week and a half or so. But early returns, first 5 games in. Look, man, we know what a bloodbath the West is, and we've seen what happens when you get behind the eight ball, especially early in the season. So starting off 4-1, having an opportunity to play some really good teams here coming up, and really course set a course for the season to be on the right track. So so far very very happy, very impressed, and like I said, the product's just been better. I think that we're enjoying watching this team. I know for Matt especially can attest to it, man. It was a tough watch, especially last year just at times. Just to see the Warriors come back to playing Warriors basketball, getting out and running, hitting threes, playing defense. It feels like we've got a team that can do this on a nightly basis. So early returns, early reactions, very, very good. And yeah, man, shout out to Mike Dunleavy. So far, loving the offseason moves so far.
Yeah, a lot of the moves have really stood out. Utterly shameless plug, wrote about one of them today with
Yeah, go
a
check it out.
video. Yeah, so go check that out on Swish Theory or on my Twitter. But uh yeah, like Buddy has been transformative in a lot of ways. I think with the way that he can be that threat off the ball, replacing a lot of things with Clay, but he's really athletic. Still for being 32, I think. I don't know, who knows with him because when he was 26, he randomly just announced, "Hey, I'm actually 27." So like, I don't know, 38-year-old Buddy Hield still got some legs under him.
Got juice, man.
But yeah, like he's got some of those legs that you see in transition. And I think one of the things that was more interesting to me is that he like the comparison between when he was in Indiana last year was I think the most interesting thing on the film so far because Indiana's whole thing was like we are gonna give like the minimal effort to try to get the maximum results on defense. So like we're gambling on everything, like we're gonna send random we're gonna give guys the freedom to go try to chase steals and blocks, and we're gonna create transition. But if you beat us, whatever,
Mhm.
like we're gonna outscore you. And with the Warriors, what you see is like pretty much every time Buddy's out on the floor, he's almost guaranteed to be the worst defender. Like except on the nights where Kuminga is like really just lost out there, Buddy is easily the worst defender they're going to have out on the floor. So it gives him those chances to gamble for those steals and blocks the same way he did in Indiana, except behind him, there's a ton of guys who are really good in rotation, who know where to be, so they can sort of cover up his mistakes
Mhm.
and let him just add the most value, which is, oh, I'm going to go run in and double team this guy, or I'm going to go dig from the corner and see if I can get a steal. try to jump this passing lane, those kind of things. So he's been massive. The slow-mo piece is huge, just giving them another guy they can trust to, run some dribble handoffs, like control things in transition. So many of their actions where they do like the split cuts or like
Mhm.
the off-ball action, it relies on having a bigger guy who can handle the ball and pass. So now instead of it being Draymond like all the time, you can have another guy
Yeah.
you can run those through and feel comfortable with. It sucks with Melton because we talked about this in the offseason piece too. Like the back injuries are a real thing with him. So it really sucks that like he gets through 3 games and then his back flares up and there wasn't even any like specific incident you could point
Mhm.
to.
Yeah.
um, which makes it hard, but hopefully he gets back and healthy because he showed some good things, just like another defender who isn't afraid to shoot and makes good passing decisions with the ball in his hands. Yeah, like the new additions have been massive, I think, for how different this team has looked and how different the energy has felt because they're just flying all over the place. Like they're playing with an
Yeah.
energy we haven't seen since that title year. So, it's I think we're back to it's I don't know if it's are we quite strength in numbers or joy in buckets or
This is like strength in buckets at this point. Like this is
yeah,
like
joy in
massive.
numbers.
Yeah, joy in numbers, something like that, man. But I think just like you hit on it, like the biggest emphasis just being on like guys that can play. Like I think that's we heard it back in 2022, like Steph and Draymond, and obviously Clay was here, but the emphasis was on like getting guys that have been, through the NBA gauntlet and had know how to play basketball, know how to win. And so getting guys like that and in combination with the young guys that are starting to take a leap. You're seeing Moses come in and play really well. Pods has been fantastic. TJD, JK's had last 2 games have been really good coming off the bench, and we'll get into that for a second. And honestly, also Draymond, man, we're talking about all the defensive prowess of this team so far. Draymond's looked fantastic, and having a guy like TJD who's able to, be that rim protector, allowing Draymond to roam. You've got guys that are playing good on the perimeter. Draymond's just, being a safety, being that linebacker, and we saw him, the second game against Zion, held him to 5 for 20 as the primary defender. So Draymond's obviously having a great year, and even last year, I mean, we've said it multiple times, but if Draymond Green's healthy, this team is on a 50-win pace, even in the years that they haven't been, on that 50 win that they didn't get to 50 wins. So Draymond being healthy, Draymond being out there every night, being a threat to shoot. I think the second game against Pelicans, I think it was 3 for 4, and just being willing to spread the floor. It's just opening up a lot of stuff. And so, again, it just seems replicable. Like these guys can do this on a nightly basis. They have the personnel to do it. And even with guys out and with Steph, Wiggins, Kuminga, or Melton, it's obviously not ideal. And you're playing a team like you said was banged up in the Pelicans as well. But just to see that you're going into every night thinking that you can win this game with the guys that you have on the court is a good feeling to have. And so it's definitely something that this team is going to hang its hat on. I think Steve Kerr's talked about just the depth and being able to play 13 guys and, being comfortable starting even a guy like Lindy Waters. So it just speaks to the depth of this team. And, there's going to be a lot of conversations on, is there a move to be made? What should we stand pat? What does this team need? But I think when you're looking at going into the offseason and they didn't end up pulling the trigger on a big trade to start to see some of these data points come in. Obviously, 5 games is still a small sample size and there's a lot more season left, but you're liking what you're seeing so far. And yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. One guy that we've talked about a lot that needed to make a real stride this season, Jonathan Kuminga. Pretty subpar first couple games, and then obviously we just with the injuries and honestly more so just a lineup ish thing than anything. JK getting moved to the bench. What did you see from JK, in that bench role? Obviously, he looked a bit more comfortable. Was able to knock down some shots. Was able to come in with that second unit. But what did you see from JK specifically? That is this bench is the bench spot better for him coming? When everybody comes back healthy, or is this more so guys were out, so we just have to make do with what we have? But I just want to get your take there, Chuck.
Yeah, so I think I think this may actually be one of the good things that comes out of this stretch without Steph and Melton, because I think we saw they realized, okay, like now we have to start Pods. I mean, I think we all kind of knew like if Steph goes down, like Pods first guy up for that starting
Yeah.
role, and they needed somebody who could apply a little pressure on the bench. Um, so I think what they've seen is when Steph gets back to full health, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kaminga thing sticks on the bench because, I think it's a lot tougher to sell like even a guy like Kuminga where he's been in and out of the starting lineup before, and I don't think he has like so much of an ego that he would like take a benching so hard that it like ruins the season. But like when injuries go down and Kerr goes to them and says, "Okay, hey, like Pods is coming in for Steph. We need someone who can score, who's coming off the bench. Like Jonathan, you're coming off the bench until he's back." And then you go, "Wait a second. We missed these 2 games. Not coincidentally, these are your best games of the year. Like if this keeps up, then maybe the best thing for you is to be coming off the bench." And that doesn't preclude him from playing his way into closing lineups down the stretch. He still may be one of their most 5 important guys that they go to at the end of games. But I think Pods, he's kind of struggling too, but I think that's more just like he's getting good looks and they're not falling, and he just needs to keep up the process there. But Pods' game is a lot more consistent. You're not going to have like baffling moments from him that kind of throw you off. So he makes more sense as a guy starting right now who can handle things against the starters. And Kuminga, like we saw him last night. He's going against guys like, I mean, Pelicans depth is tested, but he's going against guys like Jordan Hawkins. That's not a guy who can handle his physicality on the drive. Like he was taking him to the hoop and posting him up a lot. Uh, like if you put Kuminga against bench guys and you start getting a lot more value out of him, then I think it's something they stick with because once Wiggins gets back, you can slide him right back into the lineup. You can start any one of, you got so many options for the starting 2 guard. I think they go back to a more traditional starting lineup with Kuminga off the bench because like it's still tried and true. Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if
Yeah.
you move Jonathan to the bench and he's suddenly performing better, it just doesn't make much sense to force him back into the starting lineup because you have so many other options to start there.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Like, I also think just with the way, like, obviously we've seen, the jump shot and the three ball look a little better, but it's still not as consistent as you want it to be, especially in a lineup with Draymond and TJD. So, having Kuminga coming in with guys like, Buddy, Moses or Lindy, whoever's out there, Kyle Anderson, who's going to just look to feed him the ball. So, yeah, I think fit wise, like, it just makes more sense for JK to come off the bench. And I mean, look, he played. I think 29 and 30 minutes the last few games that he came off the bench. So like you said, it's not, that you're coming off the bench and you're paying, 20 minutes a night. It's you're still getting a chunk of the minutes. You're in, crucial situations. And I think, yeah, like you said, I think going back to a more traditional starting lineup is beneficial for this team. I think Wiggins is looked really good in the games that he's played this year. And kind of just slotting him back into the three, being able to be aggressive, go drive to the rim, but also the jump shot looks good. And then having another shooter come in with, either Moses or even Lindy Waters. Both guys you can't go wrong. So yeah, it'd be fun to see just Kuminga be that primary scoring option for the bench unit, and then you throw in guys like Pods, Buddy, Melton's in there. So there's a lot of different combinations as this team can go with, and I think Kuminga being the central piece for that bench unit really will if anything, just give him an opportunity to ease into the game, and then, like you said, just play himself into some of these closing lineups.
Yeah, I think too with what the emergence we've seen out of these other guys, where Moses is what a surprise. He's getting a lot of playing time and he looks really good.
I'm telling you, man, they tried to they just undervalued that contract, and now they're gonna play him as much as they can.
No, yeah, I think maybe you're right. Like the big
Conspiracy theory is
conspiracy
holding
is
true.
we have a really good player here. Let's just nerf him the first few seasons so we can get him on a cheap deal. I don't know, maybe you're onto something. But yeah, Moses has looked really good. Windy Waters, I mean, the guy's never gonna turn down a three. And
Said he's got
uh
a strap on him, man. That was one of Cole's lines. He's like, I'll wake up ready to shoot, and he's shown it.
oh yeah, he's like, yeah, I woke up today ready to
Ready to
fire. I
shoot.
love that. It's awesome. And he's shown some things defensively too. I mean, he's athletic, he's long, he's had some good possessions of knowing where to be off the ball, and he's pretty capable on it too. So it looks like they got another good rotation player there. Yeah, it is going to be interesting to see how they balance things when everyone gets back to full health, when they get Steph, Wiggins, and Melton all the way back in the fold. But this is just crazy to watch after the last few years, after the last couple years, where it just felt like, we were having to grasp at straws for just like capable rotation wings. And it's just like, oh God, like, are we
The
gonna?
Anthony Lamb, Ty Jerome
I
years.
was just gonna say, I mean, like Ty Jerome, I
He's
loved
great.
Ty
We love
Jerome,
Ty. We love
but
Ty.
like, yeah, the Anthony Lamb thing was brutal, or just like, I don't know, having to go through things with like Kelly Oubre, and it's like, oh, well, if he stinks, it doesn't even like would still, like just these last several years of looking for these kind of guys and having trouble finding them. It feels good to have more than we know what to do with, apparently. Like
And
like Wiggins takes a night off and they just don't miss a step. They just go, all right, we're going to compete. We're going to shoot threes. We're going to play hard defense. Like that's just what these guys do. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching this and interesting to see how things will play out over this road trip when things get tough.
yeah, exactly, man. And hopefully we get our full squad back. Before we get into the road trip and kind of preview what good looks like and records and stuff. You brought up an interesting point here, Chuckster. You said guys miss some time, and you just kind of slot in and the team doesn't miss a beat. Typically that kind of lends itself to a team saying, we could get rid of some guys to make a move, make a trade, and make a splash to really put this team over the top. There's a lot of interesting stuff going around in the league so far, with superstars. Giannis Antetokounmpo already saying that he might get traded if the Bucks don't win a championship this year. The Nuggets talking about, they might have to blow it up if they don't end up winning it. Jimmy Butler is a guy who's on the trade block, or free agency coming up, so not sure what there is going on there. So. Um, is there a move here to be made for the Warriors to go and land another superstar? Because obviously that's been the discussion especially this summer, trying to get that second star, whether that was, Zach LaVine type, Lauri Markkanen. But when you're hearing guys like Giannis or Jimmy Butler, you look at the Nuggets guys in Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. I'm sure no Jokic is in on the table, but when you see these guys' names get floating around and the depth that the Warriors have, plus obviously the young guys that we've developed here, and then the picks that we have, does it make sense for the Warriors to go and make a splash move, this season to really catapult this roster and really get them into the top tier of the West?
So I think barring major changes in who's available, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense to go make the splash move in this offseason. I mean, splash move being like a second real star on this team. Uh, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the guys that are on the table because if some star is just like wants to make their way out here, they want to be on this team, who why wouldn't the Warriors call? But there's a couple tough reasons. One, I think with the Giannis Milwaukee thing, Bucks are hard capped right now. They're 6.5 million over the second apron. So unless they make like a ton of deals at the deadline, trading away like basically all of their expiring contracts, like all the vet minimum guys and like Marjon Beauchamp or Brooke Lopez for a little less salary would all have to go. I don't think it's very likely that they make that Giannis move because we see it over and over again. Like the superstars like that, they always get moved in the offseason because more teams can talk themselves into uh hey, maybe we can, do something if whatever breaks our way, so they can talk themselves into a Giannis or a Jimmy Butler or a Damian Lillard. Um, so I think that's unlikely a lot because of the financials. The Jimmy Butler one, I think, would be likelier because Miami doesn't have the same salary constraints. Jimmy isn't making as much money, and he's also expiring. But there's the problem. Is the idea of, hey, all these vibes are great. Like the Warriors have kind of got the feeling back again. Let's add
Blow it
contract
all
here
up.
Jimmy Butler and just cross our fingers and hope nothing destructive happens. Um, because like Jimmy's a strong personality. He and that could be a really good thing. It could be good for them to have like another bulldog type personality like they have in Draymond. It makes them mean, it makes them nasty, it makes them fun for the playoffs, but I don't know, sometimes you put two of those personalities in the room, and it might get explosive. So, or you run the risk of like, it gets bad and then the off season comes and he wants out, and suddenly you're like, well, shit. Like,
Sent over the future and you're left with nothing.
yeah, where, that's the problem too, I think, is if they go into the off season and they're interested in trying to do a sign and trade for him or something like that, then you get more of a fresh start. But you also run the risk too. I think the Warriors are kind of like softly hedging their bets of, hey, maybe we could open up some salary for next offseason, go after like a real big free agent. Um, but if you trade for one of them before they hit free agency and the relationship doesn't go
Mm.
well, then now you're left with, oh shit, I have all this money and one of the important guys we could spend it on does not want to come back here. So like
That's
they're
funny too.
yeah, that's one of those where, maybe the fit is right. Maybe they have some good conversations with Jimmy. They feel like they can get on the same page. These guys all know each other.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that that's one where it's like, hey, you have a good thing going here. Is this a title winning team? Is this like an inner circle contender? No. But you got something to build off. And, you don't want to go messing up a good thing right off the bat just because, oh, Jimmy's, available and let's go get him. And then suddenly you've spent all your capital. It didn't work. Some of the young guys are gone. And you're sitting there thinking, well, fuck. No, what happened?
Yeah, I mean that's my I'm kind of with you on the trading for a big name at least right now. And obviously, yeah, you hit on the salary stuff and you know more than me more about that than me. But for me, it's more so I feel like the West is way more open than people might have thought going into the season. Not that it's not deep and there's not a lot of good teams because there are, but I just don't see a team of like at least last year, you saw Denver and you're like, hey, they're going to be, there at the end. Obviously, you had Minnesota, Dallas had a great run to end up making it to the finals. But when you're just looking at the pack right now, so you see the Thunder, you see, the Suns are looking good, the Lakers, obviously with the new coaching staff. But teams like the Nuggets, the T-Wolves getting off to a slow start. Obviously they've made some moves and just roster wise, they're not the same teams. The Warriors look much better. Clippers obviously have won some good, they've won some games this year without Kawhi, but just in terms of an 82 game season, you don't know what they're shaking out to be. Teams like the Kings or the Pelicans, that were all in that kind of rat race. So it feels like the Warriors have a squad to at least be very competitive in the West. And this upcoming road trip is gonna show a lot about what this team team ceiling is. Is there a move that needs to be made? But just looking at the West right now, it doesn't seem like the Warriors are that far off. And we've always said, and I think even going into this season, if the Warriors are able to get a top six seed, avoid that plan, and just get into a 7 game series, you like their chances against anybody in the West. Obviously on the East, you got Boston, you've got Milwaukee looks tough, whatever. So you got Boston out there in the East, and for right now, they look like the best team in the league. But in terms of getting to the finals, I think the biggest thing for the Warriors is just to get into that 7 game series. So I think this team is good enough to be a top six team. The health is big, especially just with guys like Steph and Draymond and Wiggins. You need these guys to be healthy down the stretch, but with the depth that they have, with the young guys making the leap, I think, we said that the front office, Dunleavy, everybody looked, they went into the season kind of just seeing what they have, and I don't think they're going to be afraid to make a move at the deadline, but I don't see them, making that type of a splash move to really change it up. Like you said, just with the vibes, how they are, with the way this team looks, the guys that they have right now. It feels like they're more so one, maybe two smaller moves away from really, elevating themselves where they can still consolidate the roster, but, still be 10, 11 guys deep. And there's going to be a lot of conversations, I think, leading up to that deadline, but I'm with you. I don't, and it sounds weird to say out loud, but I don't know if trading for, a Giannis type is in the best interest right now. Obviously we'll have to reassess in the offseason and how the team looks, but just with the way the West is shaping up right now, I don't see why the Warriors aren't going to be in that top, 5, 6 conversation as is. So it's going to be fun to see. But yeah, I'm with you. I'd hold off and see how this team kind of develops and morphs into what we think can be a special season.
Yeah, I think so too. And circling back to that deadline conversation too, I don't think like scared money don't make money. Like it's just always like I wrote a little bit about it last year too, where it was like you saw the uh like all the teams that got to the end. Like when you look at like the final four teams, like Minnesota got there off making huge swings, and Dallas made some really good additions like out at the deadline. Boston also took some trade swings, but like they were aggressive on like making moves around the margins, which I think was important. And then the Pacers have just been like building this team out of trade parts, making the big swing with Siakam. So like the teams that are aggressive and make deals more often than not find themselves in better places. But I think the Warriors, they should look at this team and think, hey, maybe we make one or two upgrades with like a
Yeah.
wing. Like let's go call the Nets and see what the price is on Cam Johnson or Dorian Finney-Smith, that kind of deal. So because I think the point you made too is extremely valid of like this is a good team and they have a pretty clear path to position themselves well in the West. You're seeing a lot of these other teams kind of struggling out of the gate. They're getting injured. So the Warriors can position themselves really well, I think, in the regular season. So yeah, like if there's a well-priced upgrade out there, go make it. Don't like
Yeah.
sit on your hands waiting for the off season or say, oh, well, we just, built this, so let's give it some time to see how it plays out. If you're 40, 50 games in, you're like, hey, we're really good, but we think we can be better here, go do it. Like,
Yeah.
not
100%.
um because this is a team that looks like they can win 50 games in this really tough Western Conference. Um, this isn't some massive like overhaul of what we thought because when we did our record predictions, I think we were all between 46 and 50 games.
Yeah.
So, it's fair to, I think, tick that up a little bit just based off the general vibes and everything we've seen. But, like one major point too is it's so easy to wave your hand early in the season and go, well,
Yeah,
small
true.
sample size or like whatever. But
Not trust your eyes at the end of the day. I mean,
yeah,
it looks good, you know?
like when you're seeing more energy, when you're seeing a more cohesive defense, when you're seeing these guys just like having fun
Mhm.
and like they're able to go out and like press the gas and make big runs or like they can clamp down and get some stops when they need to. When it just looks better, and everything in your gut tells you it's better, then it might just be better.
Yeah.
Just because it's only been 5 games doesn't mean you have to go like, ah, well, I need to see more and more. It's like, no, some of these things are real because we're seeing this team together for the first time playing regular season basketball, and it looks awesome. So,
It does, Chuckster. That it does. And first real test coming up here. We got let's see, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 game road trip. Starting off in good old Houston, Texas. Tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, against the Rockets, and then they go Washington, and then a gauntlet of Boston, Cleveland, and OKC. Those last 3 games, you're facing teams that have combined one loss on the season, and that one loss being the Celtics of all teams. So, just give me your thoughts on this upcoming road trip. What does it mean for the Warriors? In terms of, like you said, it is early, but it's the first time they're playing. Outside of the Wizards, that's 4 out of 5 teams right there that are going to be very much in the mix for playoffs. Championship conversations for obviously the Celtics, the Thunder, even the Cavs are looking really good this year. So, what does this test? What are you looking for? What's a good record for them to come out of where you're like, okay, if they can go, you know, X, X record in these 5 games, that we've got a legit squad.
I mean, shit, it kind of depends on when Steph comes back. Because
That's fair.
I think he's reevaluated next Friday.
Not to, I think it's
Or is
today.
it today? Is it today?
Pretty sure it's today.
I mean, yeah, hopefully good news there, and he doesn't have to miss the whole road trip. I mean, if Steph's out for the road trip, I'd take 2 and 3. If Steph's back, 3 and 2 is more than fine. Like you win 1 or 2 games against these really tough opponents on the road who are clicking right now. I'd take that. Because this is like the class of the league right now. Like Boston, OKC, everyone's favorite to come out of either conference. And then Cleveland is just like the surprise, scorching hot team to
Kenny
start.
Atkinson, baby.
Yeah, Kenny's got those boys moving. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Hire from the Warriors assistant coaching tree
Tends to work out for most of the league.
tends to work out. Yeah, but I would take 2 and 3 if Steph's out. If Steph's back, 3 and 2. Like that's kind of the baseline. Anything worse than that, it's like, let's maybe pump the brakes a little bit. Anything better, and you're like, all right, shit,
Let's
we're
go to
really
the finish crease.
like if this is a 4-and-1 road trip somehow, I'm gonna do irrational things. I'm gonna let takes fly. It's
Oh
gonna
yeah.
be ugly.
It would be, what would be the funniest if it was 4-1 and they lost to the Wizards. That'd be the most
Yeah.
Warriors road trip of all.
Like 4-and-1, but Jordan Poole goes like absolutely nuclear and like shoots us out of a game. Like
And
that
if you tell me we go 4-1 and we lose to a JP Masterclass, I'm not even mad about that. That's a price I'm willing to pay.
that's right
Love how
below
Jordan Poole's.
5-0. 5-0 is only barely above that,
Yeah,
but four
if that,
four and
if
one.
honestly, yeah, we don't even need a 5-0. But no, I'm with you, man. I think this is a very winnable road trip. I think 3-2 is very doable. Those first 2 games, you really want to see them take advantage of those. Not that, the Rockets are going to be a pushover team. They're young, they're fast, they're good, but especially with Steph out, it's going to be a tough one. But if they can start off 2-0 against the Rockets and Wizards, taking even one of those games. I'm looking at that Thunder game. Just Draymond had some comments about the Thunder on his post game or on his podcast. So it's going to be. I'm sure that the Thunder are going to be ready to come up and play, but. Yeah, 3-2 would be magical. 2-3, I'd take. I'm with you. I think it depends on when Steph comes back, but yeah, overall, I think that this is just going to be fun to watch. It's the first real test. They've got some good talent that they're going up against, and it's going to be a good barometer for what this team can look like for the season.
Yep. We also did get the like while we were recording, I didn't even see Slater said that Steph and Melton are out for the game at Houston. Um, so I mean that's at least one on the road trip that they're gonna miss for the start. But I'll take it as a good sign that they're not getting ruled out for like multiple games in advance. Like clearly, if it was another week to week thing, they would have ruled him out for Houston and at least the Wizards game. So fingers crossed that means it's more day to day. If they're traveling on the road trip, then they should like at least Steph should be playing at
Yeah.
some point.
I'm
So
hoping he can come back for that Celtics game on Wednesday, but I'm gonna guess the Cavs game next Friday. It's giving them another week, and can kind of reassess or assess based on how the road trip's going. But I would be shocked if he wasn't back by the Thunder game to end it. So hopefully we'll see. I mean, he was jumping up and down on the bench with all those buddy threes. So hopefully the ankle's looking all right. Just more precautionary than anything right now.
yep. Yeah, let's hope so. But yeah, I'm locking in 3-2 then, if it
Three and
sounds like
two. I'm with
back.
you, man. I want to go 4-1, but I don't see it yet. But who knows? We'll reassess in the midway through this road trip. But I'm gonna go with
Sure.
a cautionary 3-2 as well. But that would be a fantastic to have the Warriors sitting at was that 7-3 coming in the first 10, which is kind of what we had predicted going in would be a good start. So would love to see it. Before we get out of here, Chuckster, I know you said you got a Buddy Hield piece coming up. Anything else you got in the works? Want to shout out or just things to look out for this week?
Yeah, Healed Piece is out today on Friday on Swish Theory. Go check that out, learn a little bit about how he's changing things for the Warriors in their transition offense. Some notes too on how it kind of pertains to the new sort of ethos the Warriors are doing offensively and defensively. Um, finding a role stuff I'm doing, covering player development all across the league. First one of those is out. Covered a lot on Trey Mann on the Charlotte Hornets, having a bit of a breakout start to the year. So, not to toot my own horn, but called it just a little bit. Uh, yeah, we got some more fun guys coming down the pipeline on those. I got a Warrior that I'm going to be focusing a lot on for this year. So we'll stay tuned for that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and yeah, also come hop in with us on the Swish Theory playback streams. We're hopping around to different teams throughout the league all week. I'll be getting a couple games in every week for the whole season. So come hang out with us, watch some hoops, talk ball with us, ask questions. It's all good stuff. Yeah, so go check it out. It's all through theswishtheory.com.
Love it. Go check it out. It's always good content from the Swiss Theory boys. So definitely one you guys should check out. Here as always, guys. Thanks for listening, following. We're gonna get the guests rolling here on the show as the season continues to kick off. But yeah, so reach out, keep following. Until the next episode, guys. Peace.